What's up guys, welcome back, and in this video I'd like to spend some time with styling and CSS to build out a login screen. Now here's what we'll be building: a typical login screen because most mobile apps require one. So when it comes to building web pages in HTML and CSS, I'm pretty confident in my CSS skills because I've been doing it for years and I'm very familiar with everything. However, with mobile frameworks based on web, like NativeScript Vue or React Native, we only have a subset of CSS available to us, as well as a handful of native components. Therefore, I'm still a bit unsure of what I can or cannot use. So the best way to learn is to build stuff. I think over the next few videos, we'll just be recreating nice screens of popular mobile apps. So let's get started on building this login screen. So I went ahead and made a new screen, and it's just basically a blank page. So I want to start with the gradient. So if this were a web page, we can just use CSS, the linear gradient property, but unfortunately that doesn't work here. So one option is to just use an image, which will work, but another option is to use a plugin. And that's what we'll do here. So we have this NativeScript gradient plugin, which is actually built into NativeScript 4.1 now, but I'm still running NativeScript 4.0. So let's go ahead and install it. So I'm just going to do this. And it's going to, npm install. And then I'm going to do an npm run clean. And then I'm going to restart this. Okay, that's done. Let's see how to use that. So it says here you can replace the stack layout with this new gradient tag. And here's how to use it. So in my design, my gradient is from left to right. So that's what this is doing. It says to right here, and we just have to grab the correct colors, which I'm just going to grab from my other project here, which it's going to paste it in. So we're going to replace the stack layout with this gradient, and we just replace this, and those are the colors. So let's see if that works. Where's my simulator? Oh, sorry, I forgot to install it. How do we install it? So we just do this. And then our entry point. And we'll just put it under here. And make sure we do view dot. And that should do it. And there's our gradient. Cool. I'm going to remove this top header bar because I want this to be full screen, but I'll put it back later because there's actually a main screen here. But for now, I'm going to remove it. So if I just comment it out, this should be full screen now. Okay, cool. Okay, what's next? So I'm just going to dump everything onto the page, and then we'll worry about spacing and polish after. So the first thing I see here is the logo. So if this were web-based, I would definitely make use of SVG, but unfortunately SVG is not supported out of the box in NativeScript. There are plugins, but I didn't have too much luck with them, so we're just going to do it the old-fashioned way and use an image. Same with the icons over here. You can also use icon fonts if you want, but I'll stick to just images. So I already have it in my project to save time, but I just want to show you one thing. If you, for example, for the logo, if you add the @2x and @3x, NativeScript is smart enough to use the image with the resolution closest to your phone. So definitely make use of that so your images are crisp. I think that only applies to iOS, I think. And luckily in Sketch, there's this cool feature that allows you to import it at larger sizes. And I've already done that. So let's go ahead and put the logo into our application. So I'm just going to remove this, and then I'm going to use the image. And then it is in, it's going to use tilde, images, nsview_logo.png. And we don't need this. We just need to close it like this. And hopefully that works. Okay. Now let's work on the username and password input boxes. So the way I'm going to lay this out is using Flexbox. And we're just going to have a flex direction of row, which is the default. And then we'll have these two items. And then within the flex container, we'll have a white underline. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so to use Flexbox, you would use the Flexbox layout tag like that. And there's a few attributes here. So align items will align it vertically, just like in normal Flexbox. And I'm going to put a class on this of border bottom. And we'll define the class later on. So the first flex item is going to be the user icon. So I'm just going to grab this, paste that in, and this one is going to be called icon_user. And then the next flex item is going to be a text field. And we can put a V model on it, but I'm not going to do any functionality in here, but we'll put it in anyways. Username input. And for placeholder text, it's called a hint. And let's call it username. And it's also put a class on this called form input. And we don't need the closing tag. We just need to self-close. And that's good. And let me just put the data in here. So data, return an object, and username input is an empty string, and I'm going to put one for password as well. Password. And make sure we have a comma. And let's save and see what we have. Okay, we have a giant icon. I think we can specify the height and the width here. So let's try, I don't know, 16 maybe. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Okay, let's add some of the styles and the classes that we defined here. And we can just put it right here in a style tag. And we can also specify if we want Sass. And I do. I might not even use it, but it's already included in the Webpack config that we're using. So might as well. And this is really nice. So let's do border bottom. And let's just do border bottom width is 1 and border bottom color is white. See how that looks? Okay, looks good. Let's also add the form input, and that's going to be color white. And for the placeholder text, we have to add this placeholder color property and set that to white as well. Okay, that looks good. Let's add some margin between the icon and the username. So I'm just going to put a class on here, call it icon margin, and just put it here. And let's just give it a margin right of 10. You can use pixels if you want, it still works, but I'm trying just to not put a unit on it. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to copy this and do the same thing for the password. So that's the same. This is icon lock, I believe. And this is password input. And the hint is password. And we're also going to add this secure attribute so it doesn't show the password. So just set it to true. And that should do it. Okay. Now let's add the button. So I'm just going to add a new one called button. We can just self-close it. Text is going to be login. Tap equals on button tap. And let's give it a class of my button. And let's go ahead and style that. So my button. Okay, let me just bring this up. So background color is going to be 4BD5DC. Color is white. Font weight is bold. Border radius 25. Padding top of 14. Padding bottom 14 as well. Text transform of uppercase, and letter spacing of 0.1. Okay, see how it looks. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Now let's work on these two. Again, we're going to use flexbox and justify the content space between. So one goes to the left and one goes to the right. I'm just going to make these labels. They should be buttons because they should go to other screens, but I'll just leave it as labels. So back up here, after the button, I'm just going to grab this. So another flexbox layout. Let me just close that. And we don't need a class on it. We just need to justify content equals space between. Actually, we do need a class on it. Auth buttons. And the first item is going to be a text is going to be create account. I think I can just self-close this. And the other one is forgot password. And we can actually set the text alignment from within here as an attribute. Horizontal alignment. So this one's going to be left. And this one's going to be right. And I also want to style it. Auth buttons, I just want them to be white. So right here, auth buttons, color white. And let's see how that looks. Okay, so everything's laid out now, and now we just have to work on the spacing. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just vertically center everything. So how are we going to do that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap everything within the gradient in another flexbox layout. So everything here, let me just wrap in a flexbox layout. Okay. And we're going to set the flex direction to column, so it's from top to bottom as the main axis. Column, okay. And justify content to be center. So that should center it vertically. But we also have to set the height to be 100%. So I'm just going to put a class on here called full height. And that's just going to do with height at 100%. Full height 100%. Okay, see if that works. Okay, cool, it worked. Okay, so let's work on this logo first. I am going to put a class on it called logo container. And down here, I am going to give it a width of 150 and a margin bottom of 60. And let's see how that looks. Okay, that looks good to me. Now, the next thing I want to do is just wrap everything here into a sort of container. So it's like within maybe this much. So let's go ahead and do that. So starting from here and ending, let me just put that on the line. Starting from here, I'm going to wrap all of this in a stack layout. You can actually use whatever you want. I'm just going to use a stack layout, and I'm going to give it a class of container. And all I'm going to do down here is just give it some margin left and some margin right. So margin left 34 and margin right 34. See how that looks. Okay, that looks pretty good. I want these auth buttons to be a bit smaller, so I'm going to do font size 14. And for these text boxes, I want some margin underneath. So we already have a class for that. Actually, for the whole flex container that contains the text box. So we can just add a margin bottom of 40 here, and also a padding bottom of 8. This is for so that the icon and the line aren't touching. So let's see how that looks. Okay, now let's just add some margin to this button. So margin bottom of 20. Let's also add some margin top of 10. And there you go. That looks pretty good to me. Let's see how it looks compared to the original. Okay, that looks pretty close, and I'm pretty happy with that. So there you have it, guys. We've managed to build out this login screen using NativeScript Vue, so you can get familiar with how to use CSS within NativeScript and the different components that are available to us. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.